When it comes to Gotham, I rarely hear anybody ever talk about the Season 4 episode, My Three Soups. Hi, I'm Channel Pup, and welcome to Gotham Highlights, where we'll be looking back at some of the show's best moments. And if you're new around these parts, don't forget to hit subscribe if you love Gotham. The latter half of Season 4 of Gotham is pretty talked about for a good reason. It focuses primarily on the Joker and features the most screen time for Cameron Monaghan's character. There's a massive twist in there that some love and some hate, and one of my three soups saw the beginning of this story, but it's very rarely talked about. And I think the reason for this is because any episode where Cameron Monaghan appears tends to be very talked about. But in this case, Cameron Monaghan is not the focus of this story, the focus is instead on the Mad Hatter. And I think generally when you see Jerome, you expect to have some really iconic moments in there. Everybody remembers that first breakdown in The Blind Fortune Teller. Everybody remembers the Russian roulette scene from Knock Knock. Everybody remembers Jerome's magic show from The Last Laugh. I forgot to mention the iconic speech from Knock Knock. And when it comes to stories that feature Jerome Valeska, one of my three soups tends to end up kind of being the red-headed stepchild. And it's not like I've heard people talk hatefully about this episode or anything, but it's just no one talks about it to begin with. You hear a lot about mandatory brunch meeting because the first appearance of Jeremiah Valeska, like go figure, that's the guy that becomes the Joker. You'll hear a lot about That's Entertainment because boom, Jerome dead. And either something died inside that day or something in me awakened. The point is, I'm going to talk about one of my three soups now, and why it's one of my very favourite episodes of Gotham, and in my opinion, one of the most memorable episodes of Gotham. So sit back, relax. We're talking about Gotham, so of course it's going to get crazy in here. So right off the bat, the episode starts with probably the greatest opening sequence of any TV series I've ever seen. Now I know I tend to get pretty hyperbolic when it comes to Gotham because I feel so passionately about it. But if you're like me and you really love that iconic opening cutscene from the Batman Arkham Asylum video game back in 2009, you're gonna love this. You're gonna be in for a real treat. We see Scarecrow and Mad Hatter breaking each other out of Arkham Asylum. Scarecrow is getting some kind of a potion ready, meanwhile Mad Hatter is using his hypnosis to get the guard to help him escape, you know, the standard fare cookiness in Gotham. And when ready, they go over to free Jerome Valeska. And this sequence is so awesome because out of the smoke, you just see him strut out. And you know the silhouette, you know this guy, you know how he looks, and he is so undeniably jokery. He makes a joke about how they're late. And then the trio move their way out of Arkham Asylum with so much fanfare, with the other inmates cheering them on, playing drums, setting it up like a parade. Jerome is bowing and tilting and curtsying and everything. Just a real reminder of that Jerome Valeska cartoon fun. That brilliant thing that his brother happened to lack. But I guess everybody's got to start somewhere, right?
It's not a finale, guys. It's a pilot. It's a different thing. The characters aren't fully formed yet because it's the beginning.
And from here on out, everything really comes together. Jerome is out for revenge and is looking for intel, so I guess the GCPD have got to go take him down, right? And this is where the stakes kick it up a notch, big time. Because the Mad Hatter has created the distraction to end all distractions. He uses a broadcast in order to hypnotize the entirety of Gotham to climb on top of the skyscrapers and jump. So it is basically on Jim Gordon and Bullock to save the entire city. Right, so I just want to point out one really impressive thing right off the bat here. I wasn't particularly looking forward to the return of the Mad Hatter. It's not that I have any issue with this character or this actor playing him. It's just that in Season 3 he was very much in the spotlight, and I personally wasn't a big fan of Season 3's arc regarding the Mad Hatter's hypnosis and his virus. Like many things in Season 3, I found the Tetch virus subplot went on far too long, to the point I was just like, okay, I don't want to hear anything from Jervis Tetch for a while now. Same went for the Court of Owls, really. That's not to say that I didn't enjoy Season 3, there were fantastic episodes, but what made those episodes was more the set-piece moments involving Riddler and Penguin sort of dynamic. The actual arc felt very stretched thin. But here we bring out Jervis Tetch as more of a henchman for Jerome. Now, for a start, that is a very good move to take a character that I'm not fond of and then make them into the lackey for my favourite character. This is kind of the thing about Gotham at its best, is while there wasn't really such an inherent problem that the internet would go pointing out in droves with Season 3, Season 4 certainly addressed a lot of the problems that I had with it personally. Mad Hatter is definitely at his best in this episode, as his whole hypnosis prank thing that he does, in basically tricking all of the Gotham citizens into jumping off the skyscrapers and basically doing a mass suicide, it creates such a cinematic atmosphere for this episode, and as well as that, the episode takes place pretty much entirely at night. The task really does feel as daunting as it is for Jim Gordon. Now, the thing I definitely wasn't big on in this episode, and I really wasn't big on for the entire season of Season 4, was the subplot involving the head of the demon being inside Barbara Keane. Gosh, that sounds wrong. I don't know, I've just never been quite so big on the supernatural when it comes to Batman, and I've never been quite so big on it when it comes to Gotham either. And I definitely found this to be the least interesting and least entertaining part of Season 4. But the episode was certainly very all guns a-blazing with it at least, like it was with everything else, as Barbara Keane was confronted by the League of Shadows. It was a very climactic moment for this subplot, and the episode was overall pretty climactic, even if the episode was mainly about building up the next phase, which we find out more of in Jerome's side of the story. Now, what's interesting here is between a conversation between Selina Kyle and Bruce Wayne, we do kind of hear that Bruce Wayne feels very responsible for what happens to Jerome in this. Kind of as if Jerome is like that little brother that you know is a complete and utter liability. But we definitely get this sense of a Batman and Joker dynamic. There's kind of a connection between the two of them. And understandably, Selina has really got no clue as to why Bruce Wayne is even remotely protective of Jerome, which gets paid off later on. So Jerome has basically tracked down his uncle Zach, and we learn a bit about Jerome's backstory here. Jerome was known to be very sick at this stage, very insane. He's viewed as a monster by Uncle Zach, just as he was by Layla Valeska back in the day. Or so we all thought. We all know where that went in the end. But Jerome is here for a reason. He wants to find out where his brother is. And Uncle Zach explains to Jerome that he was taken off to a boarding school called St. Ignatius. But I guess we get kind of a sense that Uncle Zach was very much in on the abuse on Jerome, as he takes a quick opportunity to grab him and scald his mouth in searing hot soup. And he's pretty sadistic about it. He really seems to get a kick out of this. Meanwhile, Jerome is squirming around in pain, in kind of an all-too-familiar pain for him, I guess. But I guess if they were dealing with Jerome in the way that they're dealing with him here, it's understandable why you would kind of feel the need to hurt a guy like this. But we do get kind of an answer to Uncle Zach's moral ambiguity when Bruce Wayne steps in and asks Uncle Zach to stop, and we kind of get this idea that maybe Uncle Zach's a very reasonable guy, and that he's like, yeah, I appreciate it, you're a concerned citizen and all, but that's Jerome Valeska, he's a murderous sociopath, he just escaped from Arkham, something needs to be done about this guy, I'm taking matters into my own hands. But Bruce is just like, look, just let him go. And then, Uncle Zach's like, yeah, okay, let him go. And you think, okay, so yeah, Uncle Zach's probably a very reasonable guy, but then nope, he sets his goon on Bruce. And what makes this episode really is how much we learn about Jerome in this sequence. Jerome takes the opportunity to remind himself of St. Ignatius before killing Uncle Zach, with that classic Cameron Monaghan comedic timing. Now, Bruce has just rescued Jerome, and Jerome kind of has an option here. He can either help rescue Bruce by killing off Uncle Zach's goon, or he can revel in the entertainment of it, which he obviously does. But it's in this moment that the writing and Cameron Monaghan as a performer do something truly spectacular. And it goes off at just the right time, and it lasts just the right time. It's not too long, it's not too indulgent, but it's not too quick either. It's just enough to be haunting. For a brief moment, Jerome laments. He tells Bruce about how the beatings from Uncle Zach never stopped in his childhood, and that no one was ever there for him. And the thing is, oftentimes you hear Jerome bang on about his past, and you're like, yeah, but you are a sociopath, it doesn't excuse it. But in this brief moment, Cameron Monaghan plays this role with something we've never seen before. Jerome is no longer a happy walking cartoon. He actually shows humanity. And I, as an audience member, for the first time, legitimately felt some sense of sympathy for Jerome, arguably one of the most sadistic characters in TV history. And here I am, actually feeling something for him. But it ends at just the right time. Jerome goes back to being Jerome and having a lot of fun. For a brief moment, we actually think that Jerome is going to return the favor and rescue Bruce, but he reevaluates it and decides, no, it would be funnier if Bruce got choked to death. As unpredictable and cunning as ever. And then it doesn't even bother Jerome in the slightest that Selina comes in and rescues Bruce. And Jerome is just enjoying the drama of it. And I think that's kind of something that kind of allows us to relate to Jerome a little bit, is that he does kind of commentate on Gotham and the drama and the things happening in it, kind of in the way that an enthusiastic audience member would. And I think that's very crafty. Because the Joker is a villain that the audience is meant to find a weird way of relating to in the most unrelatable way possible. It's what makes this character so dang infectious. So Bruce has to convince Selina not to kill Jerome, and in the time it takes him to do that, Jerome escapes. Jervis Tetch is apprehended by Jim Gordon, Barbara Keene defeats the League of Shadows, and Selina understandably still just doesn't get why Bruce is so protective of Jerome. Under-freaking-standable. But Tetch isn't apprehended for long, as the truck taking him away is hijacked by Scarecrow and Jerome. Jerome now sporting his iconic look, with the grey morning jacket and the plaid suit. The trio of horribles unite, and onwards with the plan. Now, it really says something for the execution of this episode in writing and filmmaking, that a setup can feel so climactic. This is easily one of the most fun and entertaining Gotham episodes we've ever had. The stakes are so ridiculously high in this one. We've got an awesome set of villains, a lot of action, and a great deal of focus on character, really building Jerome's backstory and building the sort of character dynamic between Bruce and Jerome, which I would have loved to have seen explored much, much more. And the thing is, Jerome is so cunning in this story. He's always several steps ahead. He takes his cues perfectly. And as well as that, using Scarecrow and Tetch as his lackeys was a really wise move. Jerome was a really smart character, and this is easily smarter than anything Jeremiah has achieved in the show. I mean, apart from blowing the bridges, but we've never really had a fleshed out reason as to why and how he actually did that. So what other episodes of Gotham would you like me to talk about? Comment below and discuss, and as always, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like it, don't forget to hit subscribe, hit the like button, and consider links in the description below. There's a link to the Patreon where you can help support this channel to help it evolve into something much greater, better production values, more entertaining content, more of it, and there's also a link to the Discord server where you can come and chat with me and some of my friends. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Have a great day.
No, what about it?
It's cancelled, dude.
For real?
You didn't get the notification?
No, I didn't.
Oh, well, it's cancelled.
Yeah, well, I came all this way for nothing then. Hey, you wanna hang out?
No.
I just heard there was a gunman. Tracy, you gotta get out of there. Tracy? Tracy.
Okay, so I guess the best advice I could give to anybody is this. Evaluate your circumstances, be brave. Be prepared to fail, but always get up. You owe it to yourself to be marvelous, so why regret being anything less? Well said. I'll see you around, buddy.